9, 8, 7. We have a go for main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff.
Myself to you, them only confide in you. I can't trust them because I'm fine with you. Over here lying with you. I wanna show you off to the city I'm from and ride around with you, fine dine with you. I think about you all the damn time, for real. You tell me that's just game, I ain't lying, it's true. I never seem to get a sufficient amount of you. Sometimes I think to you I might as well be mine and do bad for you. I'm crazy about you, I'm mad for you. About to dial your mom's home number and ask for your life. Hello, Miss Johnson, you know why I'm calling. You know I haven't fallen for your daughter. I think about her often, correct me if I'm wrong, but was it you that gave her eyes to her I'd be lost in? Thought so, tell her I said hello if you can. And also, that I can't wait to see her again. And also, tell her call me when she get a chance, cause I got so much to say and I appreciate you, ma'am. We could go Monaco, take you out on a boat, say goodbye to Domino's, let's get you some pasta. You don't need no doctor to help you with your posture. You walking around head high, that's why I said hi. That's why I came up to you, poking my chest. I pressed out, trying to make you mine for the sake of humankind. How'd you get so wise? Must have taken you some time. I can't help but wonder what your parents making you and I. Let's go to Nice and get your sister a niece. I'm trying to make the population increase. I'm trying to see it in East before we head back east. Your mom called asking when you plan to be home. It's been a week or so, longer than you said you'd be gone. You say you love it and you ask her what the family's on. Before you hang up on her, hand me the phone so I can say, hello, Miss Johnson, you know why I'm calling. You know I haven't fallen for your daughter. I think about her often, correct me if I'm wrong, but was it you that gave her eyes to her I'd be lost in? Also, tell her I said hello if you can. And also, that I can't wait to see her again. And also, tell her call me when she get a chance, cause I got so much to say and I appreciate you, ma'am.
What is up? What is up? What is up, SFL Nation? Welcome back to SFL Nights with AJ Stryker. Thank you so much for joining me today or tonight or whenever you decided to hit that play button or turn on that radio dial. I really appreciate it, y'all. And I am joined with my good friend and SFLm Commissioner, Mr. Alex West, grouping with me on this beautiful Sunday night. What's going on, man?
It's catchy tunes. How can I not get the booty moving? I mean, the only thing stopping me is I'm sitting in a chair, but I couldn't stop myself from grabbing the skull maracas.
No, I almost got up. If that would have been a bit longer, I would have got up.
I'm saying. So how many more shows do I have to be on before you're going to give me a nice little co-headline billing?
At least about a good four.
Okay, that's fair. Four more. Okay, I'll keep it in mind. It's like a membership card. Show up so many times.
Yeah. Ooh,
there we go.
A few people then. If that's the case, I owe a few people.
It starts today. It starts tonight.
Awesome, man. Well, welcome back. I really appreciate your time. And I know when I did have you on Friday, it was a big show. We were trying to cover things, but then, I had my owners on, and then the kind of conversation kind of like, I wanted it to kind of shift towards the questions that they had for you because I thought it was important, especially since they had your ear at that moment,
Absolutely. It makes total sense, and I didn't mind it. But sorry, we got just a brief delay. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead, baby. Go ahead. You're fine.
It was a fun format. I don't know how many more times I'll want to just wander into a room full of 10 owners that are mostly unhappy about the new changes I've rolled out. We'll see how they feel after the first round of recruitment and how many more pitchforks are out and torches. I think it's a little hot right now, but it'll cool down as people adjust to the idea.
Indeed. And I think once you see it in action, then you can kind of feel more comfortable about the direction of it. Because right now, anything that's uncertain is going to be met with scrutiny. Even moving to this game was met with scrutiny, and people wind up figuring it out. So I think this would be more of the same thing, honestly.
I hope so.
Yeah. So first question, vision for SFLm future. Okay? As the first dedicated SFLm commissioner, you've outlined a comprehensive plan to enhance the new player experience and build a sustainable rookie-to-pro pipeline. How do you envision these changes impacting the broader SFL ecosystem over the next 5 years? Now, 5 years is a long time. That's 10 seasons. What I can narrow it down for you, what will you hope to have changed by at least next season? The end of next season.
Okay, so you want to know what? I'll even get a little more aggressive than that, or I'll meet you somewhere in the middle. Let's talk about it this way. Let's talk about 1 year, 1 calendar year, 2 seasons, because to some extent, a lot of this is going up in my plans, and these changes that I've made are not focused on a 6-month time frame necessarily, but they have things that operate in 6-month chunks, just because that's what the cadence of our season is. That's the cadence of what our off season brings. So it only makes sense for me to plug into that and utilize that as the rhythm. I believe that rookies should stay in the SFLm for an entire year, or a 12-month cycle, if you will. If someone's in there for a little bit shorter, okay, they might need Dev League work to finalize their build, but we've modified the Dev League to make that feasible for them. And if someone stays in there for just a little longer than 12 months, because, they joined midway through the second half of the year, they join in like November-ish, or like October, November-ish. The season's not over yet. The second half of the year is still running, but they're going to get maybe a little bit of extra development, but nothing crazy. They're not going to be sitting in development for an extra year on top of what they would get normally. The goal is 12 months, you're in and you're out in roughly that time frame. And if someone's been sitting as a rookie for too long, I'm going to punt them out of the rookie pool and into the development pool, because prices have to be maintained and regulated for the rookies and the new players. Now, what I think that's going to change on a fundamental level is it's going to bring a better new customer experience, because they are going to be able to meaningfully progress on a week-to-week basis, and they're going to be able to get that number go up. That is so satisfying for players who are paying for the opportunity to see their avatars grow in talent. And it gives them a real sense of, maybe they aren't where they want to be right now, but that sense of growth they can see tangibly on the field because their attributes are affordable. Now, what I think it's also going to institute is a shift as far as recruiting goes, because obviously there's no more draft. Now it's an emphasis on trying to reach out to multiple people in a position grouping that teams would have a need for, and all of those rookies are now on the table. None of them are off it unless they tell you they're off it. So the game has changed as far as terms of how teams can re-equip their loadouts, how they can deal with losing some key contributors in free agency to other squads. There's going to be rookies that are in there now in this talent pool that are going to have competitively viable builds. They may not be all-stars right out of the gate. Some of them might be, depending on where they're at, how they're utilized, what the game plan around them might be. But for the most part, I intend for rookies to be perfectly serviceable first team members, even if they're not necessarily wide receiver 1 or QB1. That's the goal. And I think that shift will be a healthy one overall.
Okay. want to add one because as you were talking, I was actually thinking about this too. What do you think should be the focus for rookies? Or let me ask this differently. Which is more important in your opinion, the avatar or the person? Because a lot of times when teams are looking for a member to add, they're either looking, hopefully they're looking at both, but the majority of the time it typically is either or. So either they have a great build and they can slide under that salary cap and fit, right there, or they just have the right attitude. And which one do you think is most important?
So, me personally, I think the player is most important, and I think that the changes that I've made to how rookies and people that are in the SFLm as a whole, and even in the Dev League, are going to develop reflects my rookie first prioritization, because my focus here is to make sure that rookies themselves, or rather, let me take a step back. Rookies themselves are able to become finished products in 12 months. And with rookies having some determination in where they go, as long as they have a team that wants to land them, people who necessarily aren't happy with where their builds are at can now reset their builds. That's an existing customer perk, not just a new customer perk. Customers are people who are new to the league, who maybe spent a year here and find that they don't like the fact that they're playing on the defensive line. They're not seeing that they're getting their name called enough. Maybe they want to do something a little more skill position related instead of fighting in the trenches. They can shift what they're doing and they can still make meaningful progress as long as they haven't spent too much time in a position that they don't like. I want things to be at least a little less painful on this growth standpoint.
Okay. So if I'm understanding that correctly, does that mean they can pretty much change their player if they wanted to?
Yeah, there's opportunities. It's not like a one-for-one. It's not a situation where I'm saying that you can simply just transfer your position from one to the other. There's existing rules for that for major SFL contracts, but the idea being that for rookies, there's cost regulation that's going to be in place that's going to make it affordable for you to progress at the position that you want to progress. If you find that you're not happy with what you've been doing, or that if you find out at some point, say, hey, I've made a connection with a team, or I've made a connection with a team or an ownership group, but honestly, they told me that they don't necessarily have the room for my position. Well, what is it that they need? I've only been here for a month, but these guys have been very helpful to me, and I want to contribute to their franchise long term. See, this contributing to the SFLm rookie and this giving of your time, they can directly reward you in various ways, whether it's coming to join your franchise, whether it's even if it's a situation where they don't initially have what you need because you've put in the time for someone who isn't even on your position of needs. They might want to change what they're doing to become someone that you can rely on in the future. It's really trying to, more than anything else, remove a lot of the pain that's associated with spending your time in the minors and those first couple of years out, which have sucked for a lot of players, especially since the shift to the new game.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't think I ever knew that you could. I knew there was, of course, in the majors, you can switch positions as long as it is compatible, right? But I didn't know that you could do that in the SFLm, and it's a little bit better for you to be able to do it that down there.
Yeah.
Up here.
Yeah. Now I haven't actually played with I haven't actually played with restructuring contracts as far as the SFLm like converting someone from cornerback to safety. I haven't seen it done yet. That's something that you bring it up like that, it makes me wonder if that's feasible, and I want to kind of talk to the people upstairs about it and see if those position shifts are even possible within the existing rule book, if they can be done in the minors. Now it got me thinking about new ideas and ways to make things even better. But I saw you post up a question from Keith Wheeler, and the Wheeler's here. Hello, sir. Mechanism for keeping players from staying in dev too long? To a certain extent, my hope is that players that are in the dev league will be signed after at the next opportunity by teams, because their builds will become so powerful that as long as they are not a blatantly toxic community member, you would want to consider adding them to your team. That's because the current existing structure for people to get in Dev League is to either be in the bottom 10% of the SFL roster spots, and that's the existing way to be in the Dev League. And I'm going to be adding that if someone has spent more than 12 months in the SFLm rookie pool and they do not sign to a team after at the next recruitment pool opportunity, like say they want to go to 8 teams, that team goes down, those numbers go down, the teams withdraw themselves from consideration, they ultimately don't find anyone to land with for whatever reason, those players that have spent 12 months or more in the recruitment pool will be pushed into the development pool to continue progressing there. They won't be on an SFL's roster, but they will want the opportunity to be on one, and rosters will certainly have to consider, hey, do we need to sign someone in free agency if we can get this guy to sign for our team instead? Do we need to try and pursue so and so in free agency? What about that $1 million Dev League player that never got signed? He's got a 95, 97 overall build. He was a little bit weird whenever we first joined, so he put a lot of people off early on, but since then he's come out of his shell. He's actually kind of a normal guy. He was just focused on D&D at first, and no one got what he was referencing, yada yada. Someone turns around the perception of themselves. They have a build that works. People can't ignore that forever.
So, Chris Delro checking in. Just wanted to say thanks for all you both do for the SFL. Appreciate you, Chris. Thank you for being here. You're very welcome, dear. It's our pleasure. Special shout out to Keith for being the first on the scene as well, checking in. I appreciate you. And if you are, I do see there are quite a few of you watching this. So if you do want to go ahead and ask your questions, post something, please feel free to do so. Looks like we have another question from Keith.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah. Will there be a cap on the number of players a team can have since we are switching to an NCAA model? Will we see a cap in conjunction with the hard salary cap?
So, roster limits per se are not my purview. That is the sole purview of the SFLm commissioner, or of the SFL commissioner, Cameron Irvine. I don't get to tell him what he does to his rosters and to his salary cap. That's just not what I get to do. My job, such as it is, will be to start running the SFLm in 2025, not to determine any operatings as such for the SFL as a whole. I get to play with the draft because he allows it, and I'm trying to bring something better as a whole to the product, and he believes that what I have does add value, even if what value there is to be seen. Now, as for restricting a number of players that a single team can recruit, there's a lot of conversations about how to implement that. Some of it involving the salary cap, some of it involving just limiting the number of players that anyone can grab. And I think that there's a number of ways to go about it. I'm planning on having a discussion with the commissioner about that as we get closer. But I don't want to force him to feel like he has to make any hard decisions about what he wants to do to roster limits or such before for season 24, before we've even gotten to my portion of the draft. I do want to talk to him about a couple of ideas, one of them being, should we tie people's ability to recruit to their salary cap debt. If they have debt, they shouldn't be able to recruit, or if they do recruit, they can't have their rookies be free. You know, what would that look like? What ideas he thinks are best? There's a few to bounce off of.
Got to get people incentivized to do what you got to do and actually go after people the way you're supposed to. Cam said that he was going to do that. He said that he was going to make sure that teams are going to take ownership and look more into the players themselves versus just having a body and being able to use them as interchangeable. Oh, well, we're done with you, casting them aside like that. So looks like he's on the path of doing it. Now, Keith actually kind of hit on one of the 5 questions that I had for you. It was about mentorship and growth, the introduction of the mentorship network for rookies is a cornerstone of your strategy to make things better. So what metrics or feedback mechanisms will you use to evaluate the program's effectiveness in fostering both on-field and off-field talent? So I think you kind of answered that.
Ish, but I'll address it a little more directly in just saying that this is one of those areas that's a little fuzzier, because how do I determine if my program was successful or not? Do I look at how many people went into this program, become SFL coaches, and look at what those SFL coaches' records are? Or do I look at the fact that that there are people that are willing to learn how to be SFL and SFLm coaches? And do I gauge based on amount of engagement, number of people that go through the program, amount of mentors that contribute their time and energy and efforts? And it's do I go with numbers? Do I go with metrics? Do I go with some combination of both? I think the best thing to just start with is to monitor engagement early on and see if that effort, based on the engagement that I see over the next year, makes this a program worth continuing on a regular basis, or if I just maintain some small informal list somewhere of people that can meet other people. Because if I only get like 5 or 10 people, if I only get like 5 people sign up over a year, it's not worth it. If I get 10 to 15 people sign up, it starts being more worth it for that amount of effort, because I'm also going to have to be getting events set up and run for all of these people to run their books against each other. I've got to set up opportunities for all of these people to meet with each other and have these teaching sessions, and then hand out incentives to these people for doing that. All that has to be done manually. So all of those factors are at play, but I think the principal thing is engagement first and foremost. I want to see people want to learn.
Speaking of engagement, that was a nice segue. Draft eligibility and engagement. So by adjusting the draft eligibility to encourage more professional interest in SFLm players, what specific changes do you anticipate making to the semi-annual draft process? And how will this impact rookies and SFL teams alike?
Well, I mean, we don't have a draft, we've got a recruitment pool. That's a pretty drastic change, but not talking about what the article has said. I think that this is going to encourage teams to advertise their culture and promote their identity, and more than anything else, what we hope to see these teams selling an image, not a dream, but selling a plan, a future, a way a way that they see getting to a winning culture if they don't have one, or saying that they have room for more at the end if you want to be part of a winning culture. Or if you want, saying that we've got spots that are down roster, but hey, we're looking to contend for a title again, and we can get you on as a second stringer. Or hey, we need starting spots. We've got a new coach in. We are looking to foster a winning culture, and we think that you're a huge personality. And while your personality might not necessarily be as recognized on a major team, we want to make you the face of our franchise. That's the kind of thing that every franchise has something that they can sell to rookies. And if they can't reach a rookie, if they don't think that they have something to sell, if they don't believe in themselves, then how are they going to get rookies to sign on with them? But I can't make them do that. I can't make them believe in themselves or sell their own dream to other people when they don't believe in it. They've got to figure out their own path to confidence and moving forward from there. But I believe in the SFL can do it. I believe they can do it. There have been people that have come back time and time again, people that have rebuilt from losing franchises to winning seasons. Look at Mexico City, how they've rebounded after a couple of rough seasons ago, and now they're the champions. And that's part of building a winning culture, building a resilient identity, and selling players on a bright future despite a poor finish that's well below expectations in seasons prior.
If I have any more questions for our viewers. Actually, Keith said he'd be happy to mentor.
Keith, I appreciate it. Keep it in mind, because there is going to be a form that I'm going to be sending out and making live once the whole draft. I'll announce it here. Once the free agency wraps up and the draft wraps up, I'm going to be making a form live, a Google form for people to sign up to either be mentors for various roles or mentees to be taught these various positions, and getting that actually off the ground and into the air. I'm not there yet. I want to let everything else that's happening in the SFL at large die down so that it can have its moment in the sunlight and have oxygen to the fire, as it were. And it's just, I think it's easier for everyone involved if I don't start trying to mess with that until we're past everything administratively for owners and GMs right now.
Good deal. I like that. Stop being thoughtful and considerate. Love it. So, leadership challenges. Establishing a dedicated team for leadership, broadcasting, and operations is a significant undertaking. So what do you see will be the biggest obstacle in implementing this restructuring, and how do you plan to overcome them to ensure success? Now, I know the Google Forms, actually finding out who wants to help with what, will definitely be a start, but was there anything else that you were implementing that you want to let us know about?
I'm very fortunate to not have to announce a director of SFLm broadcasting. Mike Daggs has graciously said that he will continue to lend his time, efforts, and energy, and to be, and that he was more than happy to just incorporate the SFLm into the existing SFL broadcast structure, as far as what his workflow cycle is and what the broadcast meetings will be like. He did not see a point in separating the two, neither do I, and I'm grateful that he is willing to do that additional work for us, even though it's happening concurrently to the SFL season. If anything, he said at the time, that it would make his life easier, because then he doesn't have as much of he doesn't have to do as much in the off season. So you could look at it one place. I'm doing him a favor, he's doing me a favor, but he's the real champ on this one. Cameron Irvine is still willing to do the website tickets and whatnot. So really all that I'm having to do, thankfully, is take over stats, make sure that gets done. I've had a number of people talk to me and volunteer to do it. I think there's going to be a challenge there with creating the SFLm stats team and getting that implemented and up off the ground in a way that it's not currently, because for those who don't know, all the SFL broadcast games have tend to have at least one, if not two, statisticians entering the play-by-play results into a sheet that feeds data to the broadcasters in real time. That is something that does not exist for the SFLm, and I'm going to have to find those people. I'm going to have to find people that have the time and the energy to make sure that everyone who needs to be in place gets in place, does scheduling and all that. So that's going to be a slight challenge. I'm going to ask Rochelle if she's willing to run the spreadsheet or not, and if she's not, that's fine. I'll find someone else. She's a busy woman. it's the biggest challenge I think out is really going to be stats. That's going to be, I think, the biggest one. I've already updating the roster and progressions and whatnot. I've already learned how to do that. I've gotten in the cadence of that. I've been assigning players to SFLm rosters for a little bit now. They taught me how to do it and have let me run with the football since then, and I'm grateful for it. It's let me get the practice in ahead of time. But yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at. Is there's some people that are willing to continue the work. There's other people that are grateful to hand off some of their burdens because they're having to help more elsewhere, especially in Rochelle's case and Cameron Irvine's own case. So it's making sure that I pick up on all these ambitious projects I have and don't drop the ball.
Yeah, well, planning definitely helps, and taking things one step at a time, that will definitely help too. It was while you were talking, of course, I got another question after both questions. But so, did you believe that having someone to constantly do stats and just be available for stats would be something that would be difficult? Would you have an issue with, or would you consider maybe offering some kind of incentive? Let's say if a person like Justin Reside or Ron Haynes, who I know for a fact
No, I will not be giving Ron Haynes more money. That man is filthy rich, and Ron will take every single stats game I have on principle. I love you, Ron. You are a saint. You are the titan of stats. I need these rookies to learn. I need them to do it somehow, some way. I'm not giving Ron Haynes money.
Okay.
Bid aside. Go ahead. I had to say real quick. I had to stop you. Go.
But I think if there was some way that could be attractive to some people, and then extra practice for individuals that maybe want to learn how to do stats, but they don't necessarily want to start off with a big.
Yeah, I get you. So yes, I do want to put incentives on stats. I don't want it to be so much that pro players are coming down and sniping out all of the stats. I want to give enough money to people who go and do stats in the minor leagues for it to make an impact in the minor league economy and the dev league economy. And in the pro economy, it'll give you a single, maybe a little bit of extra progression, but nothing that'll break the bank. My current feeling is somewhere in the neighborhood of just saying, hey, if you do a game of stats in the minor leagues, I don't need you to do like both sides of it either. Just do one side of the football and you get 10 grand in your bank. Like that's
or maybe, hey, you guys come up here and you help, now you owe a little less money. You don't have to necessarily give money. You can just, make it a little bit light on the back.
Have it counting against team debt. That would be one that I would need to run by Cam. I'm not saying no, because it definitely is. I definitely want to provide rewards for franchises that give of their time and have staff that give of their time to the minor leagues, and for people who give of their time to the minor leagues. I would need to make sure that he's cool with that, and that he does not see any major openings that are too rife for exploit, because one of the first things that he's going to come back at me with is, what are you going to do when Ron Haynes is on stats for every one of your games and Florida is 10 million over the cap, but it doesn't matter. So it's not.
Come see me. Tell him that.
So it's. So you see, like, it's a balance. It's a balance. But I think the key here with the incentivization that I want to do is if it's going to the pros, I want it to be comparatively fairly minor. I don't want it to give any major advantage or obvious room for exploit for the SFL to gain an advantage by giving some of their time to the minor leagues. My goal is not to upset the apple cart upstairs with some shenanigans down here. My goal is to help the minors grow at an accelerated rate for those that choose to give of their time and do the most selfless thing that you can do, because you're not even on the call. You are in the stats truck. The only recognition you get is when the broadcasters say your name, that you are in the stats truck, and if they give out a stat point that you happen to feed them and they decide to credit you for that stat shout out, it's a very inglorious, but it's so essential to the quality of the product at the highest level that I feel it's necessary to bring down to the SFLm for us to not have a noticeable, to not have essentially a massive dip in the quality of the broadcast compared. That's really what I think it's about, is both making sure we have that quality of broadcast in place, but also trying to make rookies as much of a part of it as we can, because that's how they buy into the community as a whole. Get them hooked on, don't get them just hooked on watching the games. Get them hooked on how they can contribute to the league in other avenues outside of just being in the game chat. That's how you get someone here for years instead of just months.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I have tried pretty much everything there is to try in the SFL, from broadcasting, the stats, beat writing. I cut highlights for the league, so I know what it's like to be heavily invested in something that you love, and you want to try to cultivate that with the rookies, and it does start with it. I'm wondering though, before I ask my last question about the broadcast expansion, is there currently any incentive for rookies to be active in SFLm general chats or in locker rooms? Like in the majors. We get our letter grades every year. How active were we on social media? How many games did we actually do stats for? All of that. So I didn't know if maybe you were thinking about if there was something kind of in place already down there for the rookies that would kind of be like, hey, this let's say Miranda, because I see Miranda all the time and I see Portia all the time. Like, they're always there and they're always active. And to those individuals that will be picking them up, I know for a fact, they're going to be getting great people because they're always around. So I don't know if you guys are incentivizing anything down there at that level.
I don't think I would, and I'll explain why. Having high activity level makes you a desirable part of any team as long as your activity level is not something that is off-putting. There are some people that just can't shut up, and we all wish they would. That's just how life is sometimes. There are people like that in every space, in every walk of life, every workplace. I'm thankful that I work from home, that I don't have to deal with that much anymore. But it's really pointing back to, if someone is a big talker, like I was, they're going to be a desirable draft prospect, like I was. My build was not what got me drafted at 5th. It was how active I was and the fact that I was willing to do some scouting. The people who do that, if they're not contributing their time, if they're just hyper active, terminally online, as in some cases, not that I'm critiquing it. I've got family that is terminally online, and I've been known to be a bit of a screen addict myself from time to time, but it's really, I don't need to give them anything. They're getting attention from people that want to draft them. They're engaging and building bonds with people in the community at large. What more reward do I need to give them? Do I need to give them cash for being a busy chatter? Because at some point it's like, okay, how do I check this? How do I classify this? What do I look for? And that one just seems like not only like a lot to figure out who's Mr. or Miss Popular, but it's also just like, okay, I'm giving someone who's already going to get a high draft position some cash because they blabbed a lot. That in particular doesn't feel like one that I want to jump on.
No problem. Because I know when I was a rookie, we had I guess it was a chat bot that actually counted how many times we were active. And that was kind of that chat ranking pretty much dictated how expensive or how you were placed. So when I talked a lot too, like I know I got on everybody's nerves. I was placed at silver, and it was the tier was bronze, then it was
Bronze,
copper,
silver, gold. Oh, bronze, copper.
copper, then silver, then gold. I was a high silver because of my activity. So that was just something to kind of piggyback, just kind of throw
I
out
get.
there.
It's something that you want to touch on because especially now that I get the context, I totally get why you ask it.
Yeah. All right. So, last question. Broadcast expansion. Unless I have questions in the chat, guys. This is my personal last question, but if you have any questions that you would like to ask Alice or you'd like to ask me, please feel free to put them in the chat and I'll get to them before we close tonight, okay? So, broadcast expansion. Your plan to launch an SFLm focused show concurrent with the games demonstrates a commitment to growing the league's media presence, which is something that I know that I asked you about the last time you were on the show before you got this involved. So what unique content or storytelling approaches will you introduce to attract and engage both new and existing fans?
So here's the part where I get to be really disappointing and show that I am in fact mortal. I don't know. I don't consider myself a good enough producer writer to say that I'm going to be coming up with innovative content necessarily. To some extent, I am hoping for a collaborative process with whoever ends up being my co-host, should I find one. And let's be honest, I'm going to need one because I am not going to be capable of carrying like 15 or 30 minutes of really talking about much more outside of just here's what happened, here are some highlights. I'm not skilled enough in show production to say that I can do that on my own yet. I need a co-host to help come up with some of this stuff because I want to I want to learn how to produce the show and how to talk on the show. And then I'll work on writing the show, additional topics and whatnot. Something I'm sure I could learn some from Eddie Gage or from yourself. But I know that y'all are pretty busy, so I can't imagine y'all have time to do much outside of give me some tips. You have to give me some tips on how to do it.
Absolutely. Actually, I just helped someone with that last night. So I don't have a problem with giving you some tips and helping out where I can actually.
Well, thank you.
To help you, come on now. I do. But looks like you actually have a question from Digby, aka Nathaniel Diggs. Teams will and do. Can you read that? I don't have my glasses.
Yeah, no worries. Teams will and do reach out to rookies early. Is there a nullification if a rookie openly pushes one team they want to play for publicly, like in the pros? So, I will say that I want teams to be reaching out to rookies. I don't think that there's a too early time to be reaching out to rookies and trying to establish a relationship. I think that if you try to start recruiting people and you give them a 3-paragraph multi-questionnaire to answer as part of your hello, hi, I'm introducing myself, by the way, please tell me all about yourself, your hobbies and your history and what you hope to accomplish in the SFL. And it can be a lot for someone who has just joined to experience, because that is a very aggressive sell. But if you are establishing a baseline relationship during January and February, planting those seeds, watching games, encouraging someone who's performing well, I have no complaints with that. I have no problem with you saying, hey, you're at a position of need. We see that you're really active. We're going to be keeping an eye on you, both in general chat and on the field. Hope that you do great things. And, we'll talk more as things get closer. That's a bit calmer way to go about it. There's a lot of ways that you can try to establish yourself with these rookies, but if you want them to commit to you right away and they verbally commit to you, I wouldn't trust it, because it's not until the recruiting pool phases actually start that things are actually going to start being looked at from the league strongly. Now, I will say that if a rookie starts proclaiming, I'm going to this team openly in general chat or in their locker rooms, I want to know about it, and I want to talk to those rookies, and I want to establish to them, first of all, they can't automatically say that they're going to go there, because that team is not required to sign you. And if you declare one more time that you're going to go somewhere, then I'm not going to let you sign there. And if you do it a third time, I'm going to nuke your build, because I don't want rookies to abuse the system or otherwise try and coerce a team's hand. I also don't want it to be a situation where a rookie is jumping the gun and getting ahead of the league, confirming and finalizing signings, and GMs and owners making plans based on something that hasn't been set in stone yet and can't be set in stone until that detail of that signing that both the team and player have agreed to a deal until signing day. There'll be nullification. There'll be nullification if there's what am I looking for here? If there is an establishment of ill intent, of an intent to go around the system and game the system. Now, if someone wants to say, I'm pretty likely to play for so-and-so because my family is there, that is not the same thing. That is not saying I'm going here. There's a difference between the two. And that is going to be something that some people are not going to like there being some gray space there. But I do want to draw a clear line in the sand. If someone says they are going to sign for a team before that signing day announcement and before the league confirms that Mae West has signed for the Queen City Corsairs. If Mae West comes out before that and says, I'm going to go sign for Queen City, Mae West will not be signing for Queen City. Mm-hmm. So that's my position on it. Is I want to prevent abuse the same as we want to prevent abuse in the free agency, but there's no tampering period in free agency in the SFL per se. At least not that I'm aware of. The tampering is if you declare who you're going to sign for before free agency before free agency is actually confirmed, and then you got problems. But it's really about that. Then that's the same thing. I want to keep it in that same ballpark, because at the end of the day, I also want to believe the best of people, and that rookies who are here to join are not trying to undermine the process. I would hope. People will be people, but, so you got to have some rules in place.
Indeed. So that was it for my questions. I actually wanted to get you to do one thing before you leave.
Okay.
I'm gonna take like a little 2-minute break, because of course it's kind of quiet, so I got to make sure they're not in the stuff. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
I wanted you to give us kind of like a play-by-play of your experience going to Cam's house and actually him teaching you how to do everything that he does.
Okay.
But I'm gonna play a little song. I'm gonna go check on them, and I'm gonna come back, and then you can tell us that story. I know that was a whole thing.
Right on. I look forward to it. See you in a minute.
All right. See you in a bit. See y'all in a minute.
It's so hard to reach you. Don't know what you're really looking for. Tell me if you need to. Tell me I'm the one you're looking for. I wanna be see-through. Transparency when you look at me. You know I can teach you everything. Are you hearing me? Choose 9/11, baby. You don't got no room. Places like Tulum, Cancun. Total fitness like you at Bally's. Hit it once Paris and I take you straight out to Paris. Yeah, I want it all. You and more. It's so hard to reach. Don't know what you're really looking for. Tell me if you need to. Tell me I'm the one you're looking for. I wanna be see-through. Transparency when you look at me. You know I can teach you. Teach you everything. Are you hearing me? It's so hard to reach.
All right, everybody, we are back. Yes. Very interested to hear how this whole ordeal went down at headquarters, SFL headquarters. So, Alex, take it away from the moment you got there.
Okay, from the moment I got there, well, it was dark out. It was not too long after daylight savings time clicked over, and I was pulling into this tiny town. It's not super tiny, but it's small. Pulling in and seeing a bunch of Christmas lights going up because they're one of those towns that starts Christmas super early. It's one of their big things. So that was. It was a very cute sight seeing a bunch of lights on the bridge already lit up as I was driving over it. So I'm kind of getting into the festive mood. Pull up to the house. I go inside and I'm greeted by Cam and then his dog, who is just a giant sweetheart, Anatolian Shepherd, whose name is just the best. It's Dodger, and she just wants to give you she just wants you to give her attention. She just has a big old flukey tail, swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. It's the best. I'm a dog person, if you can't tell. I'm an animal person in general, but it was a fairly it was a no work night one. Cameron planned for me to just basically arrive and unpack, and we went out to dinner along with his wife, and that was honestly a whole lot of fun. She's as smart as a whip, and she's so funny. Not afraid to dig at you. Not afraid to take digs at Cam. But never in a way that feels too hard. She's got a firecracker sense of humor, and I think that I really hope that she makes it out to that convention because she's so much fun. The day one of actually being not actually when I arrived the night. Skipping past that, going to actual day one was actually going through, and we started our day probably around started working actively around I want to say about 10:30, 11 o'clock, and he showed me how to get things set up on the website as far as entering stats goes, as far as updating the actual website for the statistics for the previous games. Got me set up with my login so that I can post things like the news articles, make those changes to the statistics and the rosters, and walked me through how to do all those. Then it was going through showing me how he goes through and does the progressions, just with some quick basics. It's not that hard in theory, right? To just do progressions. You just load the roster file, you go into each player, you change the stats appropriately, but do that ad infinitum for however many players in the league, and things start to get really, really, really tedious. He has it down to a science, so he then spends the next hour and a half talking ideas with me, while also just letting his muscle memory do the work, and he's educating me on what things have happened in the SFL in the past, what ideas that I've brought to him are just a rehash of a failed idea that he had in the past that he doesn't want to go into because he doesn't want to bring back previous ideas that have failed. If they were a previous idea and they're not an idea that's around anymore, there's a reason for it, is his approach. We moved away from it on purpose, so why try and bring it back with a new flavor? If it were working, it would have stuck around. So it was a lot of learning his philosophies at that point and having those kinds of discussions with him and understanding how he approaches his or how he approaches the decisions that he makes, his thought process. And once he was done with progressions, he then had to shoo me out of the room so he could have a few phone calls as commissioner, because he does have ways for people to reach him and for people to make appointments with him, and those calls happen. And I did not need to be in the room when he had phone calls with those owners about their SFL futures. So after he got done with those, he was also finished with progressions, so showed me how to save the roster file, upload it, and all that. And then it was time to go get some food, and 4 hours had flown by. Let me tell you, it felt like I blinked and it was over with. And then we got some food, come back, and then it's time to get everything spinning and up and ready to do the broadcast that night. So then he's sitting me down in the chair. He's showing me how he actually has the dual monitor set up for one PC, and then he's got his other PC with dual monitors. So he's got two machines, right? And on the left side of his desk, he has double monitors side by side. He's got the big one in the center that's a curve, and he's got a smaller monitor to the left that's still like, I think, a 27-incher, solid size for a second monitor. And then to the right of that, because his desk does the L shape, to the right of it, he's got a PC and two monitors stacked one on top of the other. And the screens are tiny because he's got all this crammed onto the desk space. And there's a Stream Deck here that's the Stream Deck XL for his there's a Stream Deck XL between his two monitors on the left-hand side for his main PC. And then there's a tiny little Stream Deck that's 15 buttons that he's got for the dual screen setup, because the Stream Decks are for both of the OBS setups so that he can be doing replay wipes. Every single time you see the ESPN, or that you don't see the ESPN replay wipe, because you're seeing the SFL replay wipe, is someone pushing a button, cam, over and over and over again. Every single one is him pushing a button. Every time the score bug moves from left to right and right to left, that's a push of a button. To update the timeout counts is a couple of things. He's got a button for the halftime breaks GPT ad roll, and for the third to fourth quarter league rights read. Like, he's got all of those things tied to the Stream Deck, so he's showing me how he's doing it. And the first set of games he does by himself, pushing both sets, running the whole show for a little bit before he lets me push in to take over one half of it. Or take over in the second half of one of the games. And then for the next slate of games, someone ended up not being able to make their game. So he is then producing and calling on the left PC, while I'm on the right PC just producing that one. And it's crazy. It is the right one. The right setup is especially, I can't say that word, is especially mental because of how cramped everything is on these two screens. He's got windows on windows, and it's so busy to the point where he can barely see he can't actually see the emulator itself because it's behind other windows, and all he needs to see is the OBS window over there because that's all he has space for. And he also, the game break updates are the single craziest feat I have seen. What he has done to actually make everything work, he has everything on his screen placed exactly where he wants it, just so so that any point in time he can push a button, make a game break happen, and go get the highlight from a YouTube video feed that he has running of the other game. Because both of these, if he's doing on game A or on machine A, he's running the emulator for game A, and he's got a YouTube window open for game B, because that window for game B is how he gets his game update highlight reel footage. It is madness how this man has figured out to produce some of the slickest NFL quality broadcasts. It truly is watching the Wizard of Oz at work. It is a master at his craft, and I hope to bring just a fraction of his talent to it.
Okay, because I'm having enough trouble with these buttons, and I only got about 5. I mean, you're talking about you got Windows and different monitors, and like I never knew. Well, I already knew that it's difficult to host or for him call games and produce, but to hear it in detail, that's a lot. That is a lot.
People don't recognize the amount of effort and talent that it takes to do the production that he does at the level that he does, and he gives for a while there, it was just out of the love of the game. Now it's thankfully a way for him to make his living, but it's still the amount of work it takes to make the whole thing function, especially at the level and to the quality that he demands, is jaw-dropping. It is a Herculean, dare I say even Atlassian struggle, because it's just over and over again he does it. He does it for over 100 games a year. He does it.
Well, I know that I just got a newfound respect. I mean, I always have respect for everything he does. To hear it in detail like that, crazy. So, how did everything end? Like, did you come out with feeling confident to be able to kind of replicate the same thing?
Honestly, no. Yes and no, because I don't feel confident in replicating over a decade's worth of experience in how to produce these kinds of broadcasts.
Yeah.
I feel confident that I have the tools needed to produce a season. I feel confident that I have a knowledge of the tool of the hardware that I need, and I've got a order that has just come out of Amazon to the tune of about $500 some odd to prove those upgrades. I need a second monitor. I need a stream deck. I need the key light. I need. You feel, girl? So.
Yeah.
So in meeting all of these needs and all the money that comes along with these needs, I just want to be able to produce one game at a time and have the textures right as soon as they load in, or at the very least, if the textures don't load in right, that I notice before the chat notices, and I make that change. That's going to be the real test, is to see how long it takes me to fix a texture glitch after I first notice it, or after it first gets noticed. That's going to be one of those things that has to be done, or that has to be figured out on the fly, on the air, and as quick as you can, because people notice if a Bossier City Steamer receiver suddenly has Pittsburgh Riverhog gloves. It's so funny how that works.
Yes. Can't hide that. But that's dope. In the short tenure of time that you've been there, you have accomplished and you planned a lot. I wish you nothing but the best of success. I do want to see you do well. You have not been in the league for that long to have made such an impact, and to have someone like Cam to trust you says a lot, because he doesn't trust a lot of people, especially with his baby. So you obviously, he holds you in high regard. So congratulations, man. Congratulations on this accomplishment that you have. And I want to see you do well. And if you need my help, I'm here for you always.
Thank you so much. I'm sure I will be. I will be reaching out to you soonish, because I don't think that I'll be able to have the SFLm show actually be live in any capacity, like for the upcoming like starting in January. But it's one of those things that I hope to get off the ground and start in July for what would be SFLm season 11, SFL season 25. Now that they're running concurrently. So the latter half of 2025 is when I want to try and do it, because at that point I hope to have the rhythm of everything down as far as being commissioner, doing broadcasts on Thursdays, and have that basic I can do the job check before I start trying to add on extra stuff like show producer and host.
Right. Yeah. One thing at a time, baby steps. Got it. You already in the right. You already. I feel like ahead of where you could be right now. So for that,
You flatter me, dear.
thank
You
you.
flatter me.
Hey, hey, I can see what you're doing, and I can see the response that you get. And I personally appreciate the fact that you took the SFLM owners into account when you were making some of these changes. That you were able to have that open dialogue with them, you know, and that's going to help in the long run. It's going to help you, and it's going to help them. So proud of you, man. You're doing your thing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thanks for having me on the show once again. It's always fun being on here. It really is.
Hey, so you're going to be on this Friday too, right?
Again, as soon as I get out of here, I'm going to check with the wifey, make sure that we don't have anything planned. But at last I checked the calendar, we don't have any concerts or Stars games next Friday. And, we roll dice, so I want to be there.
Okay. Well, like I
Gotta-
said, you let me know. And
Gotta
be
preach the
more-
gospel. Gotta preach the gospel. Spread the good word. Barbarian is the way. You must unga bunga. If something makes you angry, smash.
Oh, okay. I thought you should use your brain, but hey, that might help in certain situations too.
That wizard talk.
But everybody, especially my radio listeners, I do have a graphic with my future shows. The next 3 shows that I'm planning. One will be Friday. Well, debating should be Friday or maybe Saturday, depends. The World of D&D SFL's edition. So we have a lot of people that love D&D here. I had no idea until I posed this question, and then it was a plethora of responses. So I'm really excited to bring the D&D kind of knowledge. So people may not even know what Dungeons and Dragons is. So that's kind of what I want to be able to bring to everybody here, and maybe get some people to maybe we can start our own campaigns. And I do plan on dressing up. So any of my guests, I've already have my outfit on deck. So it's going to be interesting. I already have music and everything. So I'm really serious about it. So you want to
It's going to be awesome.
It is. It is. Bring your die, bring your props, whatever you have. Next, I'm going to have a GM summit. So any general manager, all general managers are invited. If you, I don't know if I can have all of you on at the same time, but you're definitely invited to come through. We kind of talk about the position, talk about expectations of the position, and some of the pros and the cons about being a GM at times. And lastly, Rookie Nights podcast. Definitely want to get some rookies up here to kind of showcase who they are, the person behind the player kind of thing, so people can get a chance to know who you really are. So looking forward to bringing y'all great podcasts in the future, and another one this coming week. So while you over there typing away,
Don't worry about it.
You have a good night, Alex. Thank you for your time, brother. Always.
Take care. Until next time, dear.
Anytime. And thank you so much for joining us this evening. I do hope that we were able to answer some of your questions that you had. Of course, if you have any further questions, you can feel free to DM either myself or Alex. We'll be more than happy to answer them off air. Enjoy your night, everybody. I'm looking forward to bringing you another great podcast next week. But until then, y'all stay safe and treat each other well. For Alex Stryker, we are out. Y'all stay safe out there, y'all. Put your goodbyes in the chat. See you next time.
Oh, she could be